We're recording is on progress. Welcome to the Sing Your Heart Song Summit. I'm Steve Garvin. I'm one of the hosts of this event, along with my co-hosts Olivia Vo and Irma Goosen. And we're just really excited to be bringing you to the fall edition 2021 of the Sing Your Heart Song Summit. One of the things that we hope for you as you attend this event is that you hear the song that is in your heart a little bit more clearly, that you hear what it is that your heart not only is saying, but also is asking you to do. And that's a distinction that I gained, honestly, just recently, that I can listen to my heart all day long, but if I don't pay attention to what it's asking me to do, then I don't get the rewards that it is seeing for myself. Our first presenter today is Maura Joy Lustig, and Maura is a retreat organizer, an artist, a transformational business life coach, and she is obviously a speaker. Maura knows from experience that the more we expand, the more stress we must be able to handle, and everyone who wants to expand needs both support and mentorship. Her clients are achievers, women who secretly feel they are missing out on their lives. Please welcome Maura for her speech entitled Convert Chaos to Clarity, Crush Overwhelm, and Create a Life You Love. Over to you, Maura.
Thank you very much, Steve, and hello, everyone. And just give me 1 sec while I get my slides ready for you. Hold on. And, see here, and 1 more second. You see Convert Chaos to Clarity, do you?
Yes, we do.
Good, and 1 more sec. I'll get to my presenter view for yourself as well. And if I click next, you see next or not? Not yet. That's the trouble. I have 1 more window that keeps bugging me. There, let's try this. If I click next, it changes, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right. Now we're cooking with gas. All right, welcome everyone. And today I'm going to help you convert chaos to clarity, crush overwhelm, and create a life you love. My name is Maura Joy Lustig. And please have a look at this list. And does any of it sound familiar? Are you a people pleaser? Have trouble saying no? Perhaps being a perfectionist? Do you have trouble delegating, or do you put the needs of others first? You lack a routine for self-care? Do you know you're capable of more but feel overwhelmed? Well, you're not alone. Score yourself out of 6. And what was your number? Let me tell you a bit about myself. Just touch on my background. I live in Peterborough, Ontario with my husband, Dr. Jeff. He's a chiropractor, and with our dog, Sasha, and Jeff's 91-year-old mom, Shirley, who we care for. I'm a mother of 5 and a grandmother of 4. And after studying languages at university, I spent 20 years in financial services with 3 different financial institutions, was a certified financial planner. I left financial services in 2003 to fulfill my dreams as an artist and ultimately as a coach. I've had to go through my own process of transformation over the course of several careers, poor health, divorce, and the death of my son, Kyle, in 2012. And through trial and error, I found my values and designed a life that worked for me. I now have a wonderful marriage, excellent health, a career that's rewarding and fulfilling, and a lifestyle that I love. My decades of experience have taught me how to focus on what's essential, change directions, overcome obstacles, and adapt to change. And I love helping achievers move from good to great, to gain clarity, implement strategies, and get results. So here's a bit of me, just a few pictures showing some of my transformation. The photo on the far left was taken before I started my wellness journey back in 2008. And the second is a pic of me at a bikini contest in 2016. And believe it or not, that was the year I turned 60. And then the one on the far right is me today. And went from such a transformation, I actually got into a bit of commercial modeling as well, which has been a lot of fun. And moving on. So Work-life imbalance is something that affects so many people. Since the pandemic began, in particular, many professionals are juggling jobs and personal needs while working from home. And according to a study by Robert Half, loneliness is cited so frequently. 67% of respondents believe burnout has worsened over the pandemic. So what are the causes? What are the key factors of burnout? Have a look at this list. I mean, do you relate to some of these? High workload, unclear job expectations, conflict, lack of support, no work-life balance? Well, with my 3-step system, I teach you how to convert chaos to clarity and develop sustainable habits so that you build health, confidence, and certainty in life and in business. The pillars that I've designed my system around are self-awareness, self-care, self-mastery, and fulfillment. Know yourself, take care of yourself, control and expand yourself. And you see there's a symbol there that I've used, and my logo is the Nautilus. Well, the Nautilus is a symbol I chose because it represents growth in nature. And as it moves, as it grows, it's in its pattern, it expands, always maintaining proportion, like the Fibonacci principle. And that's what we need to do as well. As the creature within it grows, it's always in proportion to the whole. And just like us in life, every ending is a new beginning in the process of evolution. There are 4 stages to transformation. The first is inception. The second is deception. The third is committing to the process. And the fourth is what ultimately happens is you have a new identity where you can't even imagine going back to who and where you were before. So which of these areas is having a negative impact in your life? High workload is a good one. Taking care of others. My clients are achievers who are struggling with work-life balance, and in many cases, they also feel unfulfilled. They feel like they're on a hamster wheel, going faster and faster. They know there's more to life, and they're capable of more, and they're ready to go after it. How do we know when when it's time for change? Well, an issue in one area, whether it's work, health, or relationships, bleeds into the other categories. It's important to deal with the issue now, not later. The longer you ignore it, the more it affects all other areas as well. Meet Sharon. Sharon was a bookkeeper, and her problems started at work, but expanded into every area of her life. She was micromanaging her staff and frustrated with the mistakes they made. Things weren't being done on time. She had to double check everything. She didn't have a dedicated space to work in that she loved. Her health was suffering. She'd become overweight. She was unhappy about it. Low energy. She wasn't sleeping well. And she had no boundaries with her husband and family members, and was starting to feel always angry and resentful. So let me ask you, do you have difficulty following through with goals? How many books have you started and not finished? Do you have several projects on the go that you just never seem to complete? Hey, have you ever signed up for a workshop or a course and then not attended it, or at least only attended part of it? Or perhaps you just don't even start at all because it feels like something new would just be way too much for you. So what's holding you back? Have you heard the story of how they train baby elephants? They tie the elephant's foot with a chain to a concrete post or a fence or a stone, and the baby elephant isn't strong enough to break free. And over time, as the elephant grows, even though it becomes strong enough to have no issue breaking free, it no longer tries. The question is, are you the elephant as well? Where are you an elephant? What assumptions or beliefs have you never questioned in your life? We talk about limiting beliefs all the time. Examples, thinking you're not capable of certain things, the things we don't realize that we believe in, like the elephant, holding ourselves back because we think we're not good enough. Stop comparing yourself. The only person you should compare yourself to today is who you were yesterday. Where are you out of sync with others? When do you say yes and they say no, or vice versa? Where do those reservations come from? It's the start that stops most people. Most people want to change, but they wait to do it until the pain of remaining the same is finally greater than the fear of something new. But you don't have to wait for that. Let go of perfection. Be willing to experiment. A little tip for that is be kind to yourself and forgive yourself. No one is watching you. They're way too busy thinking about themselves. You're your own worst critic, and I know you know that too. So how do we fight back against overwhelm? Well, with clarity and certainty, there is no overwhelm. And when you create discipline, you create freedom. And we can only rise to the level of our systems by organizing your priorities and developing clear-cut systems. You create freedom for yourself. Are you unable to define a clear vision? Thin desires are superficial. Thick desires are deep-seated yearnings. Figure out what you love to do and do it on purpose. You know, your goals are not the same as your vision. Most people confuse them. Your vision is your compass for meaning and purpose in your life. It's an ideal, something that you strive for, that is selfless, of the highest value and contribution. Find what you love to do and that you are very talented at, and that has enough value that people are willing to pay for it. And when you do, you become unstoppable. And you know, it's easier to do this once you've clarified your values. I mean, why do we want the things we want? When you manage this and take action on your values, joy becomes a verb and a state that you can apply to your life regularly. Get to know what value it is that you bring to others. Another way to put it is that values represent our unique and individual essence, our ultimate and most fulfilling form of expressing and relating. They serve as a compass pointing out what it means to be true to ourselves. And when we honor our values on a regular and consistent basis, it's joyful and fulfilling. 3 exercises you can do to discover your values. One is a peak moment, a rich and fulfilling experience. What value is being honored? Suppressed values, feelings of lack, frustration, trapped. What value was not being honored? What are the must-haves in your life, the non-negotiables, beyond the physical requirements of food, shelter, and community? What must you have in order for your life to be fulfilled? I think of a peak moment in my life was when my children were born. In particular, I remember my very first child and looking at him after, labor and delivery, and looking at him and going, oh my God, I did that. and this talk about warm and fuzzy. I felt like I had meaning and purpose, and I felt loved, and I couldn't believe the love that flowed from me. That was value being expressed. So here's a list of sample values. Yes, it's a huge list, I know. All I ask, if you want, you could take a screenshot of this quickly. Make a list of your top 10 values, and then we can work from there. Ever heard of cognitive dissonance? Well, what do we mean by that? Well, where thoughts, feelings, and actions are not aligned. I mean, this is when you're out of alignment, when you're out of integrity. It's when you're incongruent. For example, when you say one thing and do another. And this is what happens when we break promises to ourselves or to others. Cognitive dissonance. Think about it. When do you tell a lie to yourself or to others? I love the 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, and they are principles that I live by every day. Number 1, be impeccable with your word. 2, don't take anything personally. 3, don't make assumptions. 4, always do your best. Notice the triggers. When do you become irritable or impatient? Avoid potholes and rabbit holes with a strategy known as spot, stop, and swap. It's a pattern interrupt and a redirect with gratitude, changing the subject, changing your geography, inner and outer. Negative emotions are like clouds. If we don't fixate on them, they dissolve and disperse. What about detachment? Ever heard of the story of the monkey and the banana? What could you let go of that would make your life easier? With the monkey, what they do is they put a jar in the jungle, put a banana or a piece of fruit in it. Monkey comes along, puts its hand inside, and goes to grab the fruit. Sure, it can grab it, but it can't pull its hand back out. And the only thing separating that creature from its freedom is the unwillingness to let go. So it's like, okay, what's my banana, right? An example might be that you don't feel you're good enough, not ready. For me, an example of having to let go was when I was downsized from one of the financial institutions I was in. I was in banking for 20 years. I was downsized and was devastated. I was a young single mom with 3 kids going through a difficult divorce, and now I lost my job. No fault of my own. They were downsizing. It was just, I didn't see it coming though. And I went back to school and got high honors in corporate communications. Another example, not feeling enough. I was asked to host my first retreat in France. It was fabulous, but I wasn't sure if I could do it or not at first. When I was asked to teach art classes, I'd been asked for years by people who liked my artwork and said, well, do you teach? And I always said no, because I didn't think I was qualified. I didn't have a degree in fine art. Perhaps you can relate. Finally, I said yes. Oh my goodness, these art classes are so much fun. Students keep coming back for more, right? I learned to let go of perfection. And my mantra is say yes when you're inspired, when everything in you says, I want to do that. Say yes and figure it out as you go. Have you heard of Byron Katie? I love her process called the inquiry, the 4 questions. And I can teach you about that if you want to give me a call. I'd love to work through that with you. But it's about managing expectations and trusting the process and learning how to practice detachment. So let's start with self-awareness. Now notice in the Nautilus, I put self-awareness actually in the middle, because it's like an awakening. Until we recognize what our triggers are, what drives us, what holds us back, we don't practice self-care. Instead, we should on ourselves forever, and we're resentful about different things in our lives and don't even know why. We don't make changes until we have the awareness of ourself to be able to do it. Example, it'll help with limiting beliefs, overwhelm, starting tasks and not finishing. Sharon, for example, who I mentioned, she assessed her values and her beliefs. She started setting boundaries to protect her needs, her wants, and her beliefs. Are anxiety and stress recurring themes in your life? Does it feel like nothing's good enough? Do you ever feel like a doormat? Ever feel powerless or out of control? Insecurity can drive us, but it's an unhealthy fuel. Feeling disrespected eats at us, not being valued. Focus on why you started this career path that you're on, or business or project that you're doing. Figure out why you started it in the first place. You know that expression, when you're in the swamp and you forget that you came to clean it when you're up to your you-know-whats and alligators? We tend to lose perspective when we're overwhelmed, when anxiety reaches such a level that we lose the dream. It's time to brush it off and revisit and get that passion back. If you don't, here's what happens. Your health, your relationships, your career, or your business fall into disarray. Think about your own health, relationships, and career. Are the relationships, are they healthy or toxic? If you continue doing what you're doing, how will you be in 5 years from now? Arguments and fighting or apathy, substance abuse, depression, no me time. I see that all the time. Become apathetic about work. It's, if you're not working towards something and you're coasting, you're actually going downhill. Self-care is next. Now it's time to take care of yourself, because nobody will do it for you. Develop a routine to start your day and build momentum. Improve sleep, energy, and become fit and sexy. Fall in love with yourself again when you practice self-care. Sharon started walking and journaling, and she started eating differently as well. So how do you start your day? Morning rituals. I can't see you all, but I'm guessing if I were to ask for a show of hands, you all appreciate the value of morning rituals. And rituals are habits with soul. They're not just things you have to do. They start your day in such a powerful, intentional way. And as you can see, it's not just beginning your day, it's ending your day. It's the bookends, I would call it. And it's about going to bed at a reasonable time, knowing enough to turn off the electronics, not having a TV even in the room, having everything electoral away from you. I'd say at least an hour before going to bed. Know how to unplug. So many people I meet struggle with sleep, and they don't know how to fix it, and they think it's an inevitable stage of aging. Well, no, there are a lot of things we can do to help sleep. One of the things is melatonin. Some people find CBD oil is good. There's many different strategies. And of course, your gut is such a huge piece of that. Nutrition and exercise. Well, these are no-brainers, right? But do we all do them? No, not necessarily. You've heard it before. We are what we eat. Healthy eating and exercise help our whole body. Our brains work better. We process stress more easily. We have more energy. Have you ever considered intermittent fasting? My husband and I limit our eating to between 10 and 7 each day, and we do a 24-hour fast weekly, what we call a nutritional cleanse. Been doing it for 13 years, and it's been a key component of my transformation to becoming so radically healthy. Do you have an exercise routine? I mean, you can absolutely start small. I started out doing 1 push-up and 1 squat each day, and now I work out every day and I do 40 push-ups at a time easily. And I'm so thrilled that I continue to do that well into my 60s. And the other thing is to just look at the whole picture. I mean, where do you want to be in 5 years? Start small now and build on it. Healthy gut, healthy you. Gut health affects the immune system, mental health, digestion, skin, and sleep. Something I've noticed is that many achievers don't sleep well. Can you relate? They wake up in the middle of the night feeling bloated and uncomfortable, sweating, have bad dreams, and lie awake ruminating. And poor gut health is at the root of this. And in my 3 steps, I provide a system that helps weed, seed, and feed the gut to get it back into balance so people can thrive. As a result, they sleep better, digest better, and wake up feeling refreshed and energized. So, do you ever meditate? Do you ever journal? By doing so, you can set daily goals. You can achieve them regularly. You can record ideas on them, relieve stress, opportunity to reflect. I do something in my journal every morning that has 3 components to it. Starts with gratitude, then power thoughts, and finally plans and intentions for the day. It might just be bullet points so that I never not do it. I always remember to briefly put a page in my beautiful leather-bound journal with my gorgeous Swarovski pen. Make it be something that you savor every morning, not on your to-do list, but something that is a non-negotiable. Have a look at this. What areas of self-care do you need the most work on? In addition to the ones we've discussed, consider these. Escape, get away, connect, disconnect, unplug, play, add some fun into your life. Incorporate hobbies and games. I like to knit. Learn, grow. We need to constantly learn to expand. And now, please vote which area you want to work on the most. Instead of giving yourself permission, do you give yourself away? Burnout and disengagement occur when anticipated return doesn't match the work you put in. When you're overwhelmed, it's easy to forget why you said yes in the first place. And what you find is there's a list of unfulfilled expectations, goals, and dreams piling up. Do you get sidetracked easily? When you take your eyes off your goals, more obstacles seem to be appearing all the time. And you know what? All distractions are equal because they all take you away from your purpose. We can multitask, but we can't multi-concentrate. We need to know where to put our focus and when our energy is at its best. Some of the steps to take is, control your phone time, schedule work blocks and frequent rest blocks. Have a nap. Sequencing is something where you do things in a certain order always. Habit stacking is where you accumulate certain habits at the same time. Example for me, getting up in the morning, hydrating, journaling, and then going to the gym. Then I come back and I pour from a full cup because I've looked after my physical and emotional and spiritual needs. I am now able to serve others. and understanding how the timing of energy affects your productivity. When are you able to have clear mental power? When do you need to rest and do something that's a little bit less taxing? Friends and family, do they support your dreams or are they pulling you down? You've heard of the crabs in the bucket. When you decide to make a change, it sometimes threatens those around you and they will pull you down. Are you the problem though, or are they? If you're frustrated, sometimes they're toxic, sometimes you're just responding to your stress and negativity. Clarify how to tell yourself if you need to work on you or if you need to cut ties with people that drain you. Ever feel completely lost and alone? Ever feel pessimistic? Shut down? Think about quitting your job or having an affair or getting a divorce? The final step, self-mastery and fulfillment. Taking the first step is the hardest. Instead, say yes and figure it out faster. Fall frequently. Abraham Hicks, I love her phrase. My most important task is to align my emotions with my desires, to find least resistant thoughts and act on the inspired thoughts that arise. Learn how to set boundaries, raise your standards, eliminate procrastination. Sharon's changed everything she was doing. She has a better relationship with her husband. She was able to create boundaries with toxic clients. She claimed space for herself in her home as a virtual sanctuary and office. Her health has improved. She's lost 20 pounds, a huge difference. As I said, instead of giving yourself permission, instead of giving yourself away, start giving yourself permission. Escape to your life, not from it. Unplug and get away. This isn't just about taking a break. This changes you. I don't mean a beach. I mean something better, something bigger, something where you're connecting with others, where you're growing and learning, where you come back a new version of yourself. The perks of being available by doing an escape. We need to escape in order to discern the essential few from the trivial many. In our time-starved era, we seldom get that space by default, only by design. And that's why I created my retreat in France. Play and learning are intertwined. Play expands our minds in ways that allow us to explore. Play is integral to creativity, to germinating new ideas. And learning means adapting. We must be open-minded and curious to unlearn, relearn, and adapt. And play can teach us so much. For me, it was that I started knitting again after many 30-odd years in January and slowly built up one thing after. And I learned so much in the process, not just about knitting. I learned about myself and how I learn and unlearn things, how I manage my state at different times of day more easily than at others. And I developed a system for having 2 projects on the go, something easy that wasn't important, something that mattered. Because otherwise, if I took on the heavy project when I was tired, I would make mistakes and end up unraveling more than I accomplished. But I could still play and still do things. And I kept experimenting with new patterns and just always pushing myself a little bit more to go further. Connect with like-minded peers. Book clubs, hobbies, sports, gardening, travel, so many ways to connect, even online today. Contribute, be intentional, give with purpose. Join service organizations. Meaning is healthier than happiness. People who look for purpose in their work are more successful in pursuing their passions and less likely to quit their jobs than those who look for joy. While enjoyment waxes and wanes, meaning tends to last. When my son Kyle passed away in 2012, the community gathered to give me love and support. I focused on gratitude as much as possible, and I poured my attention into helping my clients, and that sustained me. I've already mentioned Sharon. She is much happier today than she was when I first met her. She has implemented all 3 of these systems for self-awareness, self-care, and self-mastery. Just here's a quick slide showing you all the different pieces. Feel free to take a screenshot of this if you wish. I know it's a lot of information. What I want you to take away is that self-awareness, self-care, and self-mastery each affect each other. When we take better care of ourselves, is when we're fully aware of what we need and want. And think of joy as a verb, not as a noun. Think of it as a state of being, and fall in love with the process of growing. Develop detachment and be willing to fail. Instead of, I'll be happy when I'm successful, think I'll be successful when I'm happy. So which of these areas do you want to see the most improvement in? Maybe all three. Ask yourself, what makes you come alive, and then go do it. Because what the world needs is more women, more people who have come alive. Even the most successful women in business still face daily challenges at home and in business. They're the natural state of life, and stress goes with the territory. In fact, the more we expand, the more stress we must be able to handle with ease. Everyone who wants to evolve, to succeed, needs support and mentorship, no exception. Excuses people for not starting when they don't stop. Sorry, for not when they don't take a break to do so. Some things I hear were like, when my kids are grown up, when my divorce is final, when I get the promotion, after I move, when I retire, when I win the lottery. Stop waiting for your life to begin. What will it cost you if you do nothing? Insanity is the same thing being done over and over, hoping for different results. Now is all you ever have. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. You can convert chaos to clarity now, though. Enjoy the preview and first lesson of my course. Book a discovery call with me. Here's what one of my clients said about working with me. And I did help her, as she said, to put her own oxygen mask on first. And finally, my solutions. I invite you to learn more about how I can make a difference and help you achieve your dreams, fulfill your destiny, your dharma. Thank you for listening. It's been a joy to be here with you today to help you learn about how you can sing your own heart's song. And I look forward to connecting with you, to hearing you sing it to me, and to the rest of the presenters in this incredible summit. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maura.
Thank you.
I am always delighted when I encounter other people who have been on similar journeys to the one that I've been on. Actually, I don't know if you know this about me, and you probably don't, but my career was actually in corporate accounting. And I burned out so badly that I had to find another way to create my life. And art was a huge part of it. So it's really cool to hear you talk about all the three areas of self-care and self-mastery, and you know, just how it enriches our lives, and how by taking time for ourselves, we have more to give to others. So thank you for sharing what you shared. We've got a little bit of time, so if anybody has questions or comments that they would like to ask Maura at this time, we'd love to open the room for you to ask those questions and to share what's going on for you in your lives.
I'm willing to bet there are many other creatives in the room right now on the Zoom.
I am confident of that. I know for a fact that I'm actually looking at one of them. She doesn't know that I'm referring to her, but yes, there are lots of creative people in this room.
Yeah. For me, the journey back to creativity was in 2003 when I discovered, I mean, I always painted and drawn, but I had never heard about painting with wax. And I was introduced to encaustic, which is where you heat the wax paint to 150 degrees and you're building up layers of paint with a heat gun, a blowtorch, or a hot iron onto a hard but porous surface. And the results are so different, so translucent. It's a natural healing painting art. And I find that the people who are drawn to it have often done all kinds of other art mediums first. And it invites the childlike wonder coming in again, because it's challenging but so rewarding. It's translucent but can be worked with multiple layers and different third materials. Can be found objects and textiles can be put into it. Photos can be, there's just so much available there.
So true. And part of the reason I'm burned out so badly was, one, I wasn't listening to my heart, which is why it's so important for us to, you know, be doing this Sing Your Heart Song Summit and all the other things that get us in touch with that. But also, I had grown up so much that I'd forgotten who I was as a child. And I remember going to, when my therapist at the time invited me, encouraged me to look at that relationship with my younger self, I was incredibly resistant to it. Honestly, I got rather angry. But she continued, persisted, and opened up the door for me to reunite with myself. And now play is a huge part of my life and the approach that I try to take no matter what I'm doing, because it's, I think that's where genius lies.
Steve, you're raising a good point, because one of the things I notice is that, it's like a bruise when I hit resistance with a client. It's that if you can lean gently, like a massage therapist, lean gently into the bruise and keep the pressure on it. Not sharp and sudden, slow and steady. That gradually, that pain body that's been building will release and disperse. And once it does, it's like a flood of relief flowing through. And I didn't spend time on this, but I would love to, is the Inquiry by Byron Katie, is the 4 questions in the it starts with, what's the negative belief you have? How does it make you feel? Do you know it's 100% true for sure? And of course, it's a no. And then, but again, how does it make you feel? Like, where do you feel in your body? And what do you do as a result of having that belief? What are your actions and responses and triggers? And then the final question is, who would you be? How would you be if you no longer held that belief? What options, what doors would open for you? What relationships would now be available for you if you did not have that belief that you've hung on to, like the banana, for so many years? I see people's lives change dramatically. I see the relationships around them change when they stop holding a grudge, when they learn how to do different things that they've never given themselves permission to do before. It's transformative.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is, we can let go of that banana at any time. There is no magical time or deadline or, schedule or whatever. We can let go of it just by choosing to let go of it. And when we do, we gain all that freedom that the monkey would gain if it were to let go of the banana.
We all have so much life waiting for us. It's a shame to waste a single drop of it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Remember that when we change, everything around us changes. It can't not. We are the center of the ripple. Yeah. And we have unintended impact, which is why we need to step back sometimes when we don't get the expected reaction from someone. Instead of making it be that they're not right, look within first. Always do the self-check. Not, oh dear, it's more like, oh, isn't that interesting? That didn't turn out the way I expected it to. I wonder why. Instead of jumping over there and blaming, it would be, okay, let's look at this from various angles. There is no such thing as black and white. It's all gray. It's a spectrum of light, right? Learn how to pull apart the threads with detachment without getting hung up personally. Remember, don't make assumptions. Don't take it personally. Always do your best and honor your word.
Yes. That you make an interesting point about that there is no black or white. If you zoom in like on a white sheet of paper, and it depends on what environment you're in, is you either see, all the colors there, or, a simplicity that otherwise isn't there. But I think that's true for any area of our life, is that if we zoom in to look more closely, be more mindful, be more curious about what's going on in our lives, that we can see things that we wouldn't otherwise have, or see things that we otherwise would not see. And life really is about just, kind of looking in the different corners and aspects.
One of the keys really is, when you have the self-awareness and you identify, and we hear about this all the time, but there's nothing more important than understanding what drives you. Because when you do, and you get that perhaps it's different from what drives somebody else. Number one, you can stop comparing yourself. And two, you can make decisions effortlessly and then change them slowly. Because when you've got conflicting priorities and you're trying to decide, oh, I want to do this. Well, if something doesn't match 3 of my core values, then it's off the list.
Yes.
It becomes really simple to choose. And then I'm not making others right or wrong around me. I'm simply really clear on why I've decided to do something or not.
Absolutely. I came up with my 5 core values a number of years ago, and have subsequently basically based all my decisions on whether they align with those values. If a group of people or an environment, community isn't supporting those values, then I can find another community that does support those values. It's honestly what inspired me to create the World of Difference Toastmasters Club that I started this year, was wanting a club, a group that more closely resembled the values that I wanted to be creating, and have been delighted with the experience and seeing who shows up because of that invitation.
That, yes, I can only imagine. Yeah, it'll be people like you're attracting to the summit. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, people who give from the heart, who understand the connection between mind, heart, and gut. Because when your gut's your second brain, and when our feelings are compromised, it's the gut that's first, right? And without proper gut, then nothing else flows. When you align all 3, you become a different version of yourself, and you end up saying yes to life in so many more ways than ever before.
Absolutely, yes. So I'm going to ask again, does anybody have some questions or some curiosities? Let that playful part of yourself engage here and share what's going on for you as you listen to what Maura has been sharing. What part of you would you like to share? Olivia, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of setting yourself for rituals and the self-care, but something new that I picked up from you today is savoring that moment, because it is just like a check mark on my to-do list to sit down and journal. So I love how you illustrated, the leather-bound journal, the Swarovski pen. You're like, wow, that sounds so luxurious. Why don't I do that?
Yeah, I bought the journal in France. I was already journaling, but when I hosted the retreat in France in 2019, I was at a street market and I saw this gorgeous Moroccan leather journal cover. And what you do is you pull the insert out and replace it, and you always keep the cover. And then I acquired a gorgeous, as a birthday gift, Swarovski pen. And so every morning I have the ritual. I have a cup of coffee, I hydrate first, and then Jeff and I sit quietly. Often the fireplace is on, and I do my journaling at that time. And the intention, some of the intentions are like this: something wonderful is about to happen. Answers and help come when I least expect it. I am always learning. I meet the most wonderful people every day. Yeah, yeah. And then and it's also data, because I'm putting down, what do I weigh that day? How much did I sleep? Little, like I'm recording stuff. And then the intentions for the day are at the bottom. And that's kind of a cross between setting my best day in motion, as well as, what do I not want to forget to do? And no judgment. There's intentions. So if something doesn't get done today, it gets carried over to the next one. But I've got them in order of priority. So it makes life much easier. Yeah.
And the retreat is something that's been on my mind for a very long time. And so when you talked about France, I mean, it just really opened me up, like that could be a possibility.
I hope so. Everyone, I do want to apologize for going so quickly today. I was afraid I would run over, and so I did speed up a bit. My apologies for that. But as far as France goes, I mean, you and I did the interview, and I already talked about that, is that there's like lavender and bloom, tracing the footsteps of Van Gogh and Cézanne, staying in a boutique spa hotel, divine food and cuisine, sharing the 4 agreements, meeting with like-minded, value-driven women who deserve to and need to pull themselves away from their own environment for at least one blessed week, creating memories that will last a lifetime. It is a very different experience when you do this sort of a trip with me from any other type of a holiday. It's not just going to France, but boy, is it ever going to France and then some, you know, like it's just a very, very special. Yeah. And we do a wellness program within it. We do the journaling as well. It's a perfect blend of activity and relaxation. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that I've been hesitating on, because I just want to make sure that we can travel, right? That's always top of mind for everyone. But what we're doing is we're if we have to stop the plans, we just refund everything, you know, like no prisoners. And I'm only asking for a very small deposit right now to get a sense of commitment and intention. And then we'll finalize things in December. Yeah.
So cool. And I love your knitting. I mean, that was a totally like caught me off guard that you had it as a hobby.
Oh, I'm having so much fun. You know, if it's something I just want to relax and not pay attention, I'll do a dishcloth, little things. But then I'm working on multiple, very like more and more difficult shawls. That's been something that intrigued me. Yeah.
Very cool.
I was inspired by my daughter and my mother-in-law, who were both doing, you know, very basic stuff, but always had the needles in their hands. And it was, I got the bug, but they stayed with the dishcloths. And I keep wanting to learn more. So that is also interesting to me, but I see where I'm similar and how I'm not, is what drives me differently. I want to learn all the time. It's just a vehicle for learning. Same thing with the encaustic. I kept experimenting. I didn't ever get into a ritual of always doing the same picture over and over because it would sell. That becomes more of a craft. For me, I want to play. I want to learn. I want to experiment. And yes, I have themes that are recurring. But there's a difference between a recurring theme or a recurring absolute cut and dried cookie cutter thing, right? There's a difference. Yeah. So I don't know if there's any other questions. I realize that you may want to take a break and then line up the next speaker.
Well, we do want to do that. I think we can continue. If anybody has any other questions, please jump in. We like to leave things a little bit loose so that you have time to play. And we found, I just really appreciated again, Maura, what you shared today. I think it is a reminder for many of us just how important it is to be taking care of ourselves. That when we care for ourselves, then we can do, one, our own experience is so much richer, but also we can give so much more to other people because we have kept our pitcher full, so to speak. So.
Agreed.
I have a question. This work can seem so overwhelming. So I'm just wondering, where do you suggest people to start if they feel like, oh, there's just so much for me to work on and so much to do, and will I even be able to do it?
Mm-hmm. Well, a good way to begin would be a discovery session where I can ask the questions that help draw that out of you, of knowing where it's right for you to begin. Assuming it's personal, but it might not be. I just treating it as questions personal. And we explore what the triggers are, what's not working, what areas are most important to you to improve. We look at the values that you're not even aware of, or the behaviors that are like on autopilot sometimes that we're totally oblivious to, right? And when you can separate the threads, it's like unraveling a ball of yarn or a necklace that's been all tangled up. Things come apart and then it flows. And it's just phenomenal because then you know where to grab on. Then you know where the piece of ball started, and you can now start working your way through progressively more and more. Self-care is a should until it becomes an intent. There's a difference, right? People know all the time they should take care of themselves. They know they should exercise. They know they should eat better. They know they should drink less. But why don't they? Because of all this other stuff. And then they get into a spiral, and it's a catch-22, because I'll give comfort eating as an example. The person that goes ahead and snacks and then feels guilty for doing it, right? And so what do? They snack more, right? And then they look in the mirror and nothing fits. And instead of having someone who cheers them on, sees their greatness, helps them see it for the first time, perhaps in years, exactly what they are truly capable of, that they resonate with, and gives them permission to give them, like, helps them give themselves permission to finally do it and allocate the time for it so that they don't feel guilt-ridden, because they're not compromising everybody else. They're becoming a new version of themselves, though. They're taking a stand for their lives. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? Because you've heard this before, all we ever have is now. And every minute counts. And the thing about, like, it's the start that stops most people, and it's the pain of remaining the same that has to be big enough. They finally stop getting out of their own way and try something new. My husband's a chiropractor. Can't tell you how many times people wait till they're in so much pain before they finally get the appointment. And then it's, oh, thank God, why didn't I come sooner? Right? We've all heard stories like that. So does that help, Emily? I don't want to ramble too much, but you get that when you speak with an expert who's been there, done that, and knows how to get out of that funk, that block, and then supports you in achieving what's important to you, not what's important to them. It's not my agenda. It's not the coach's agenda. They help you figure out your agenda. Yeah. You're very quiet, Emily. I hope I hit the mark.
Emily will cease being quiet in a few minutes, so
She's processing.
That, and she's also presenting. So
well, that's a good thing. Yeah, I love it.
I am going to actually stop the recording now so we can have a break. And if you need to go grab some water or need to take a bio break or whatever you need to do, go do it.